This is going to be going over a couple of artifact choices that I thought were kind of interesting during the global qualifiers for the Epic 7 World Cup. This didn't get mentioned at all on the broadcast from what I heard, but I thought they were kind of interesting, so I'm just going to talk about them. The first one that more people probably noticed is from Light versus Jinte, Game 3 for the final top 8 spot for global. And here Eligos takes turn 1. We see he's on the stealth EE. And then from turn order, it's going to be Luna next, and then Peyra. He's going to soulburn everything into Acades because typically Eligos Death Breaks her, and then Luna gets to S1 her with Flan dual attacking and killing her. But here we saw that it's really bright. I'm going to go back a little bit. She is on Idol's Chair, and this pushes up Peyra past the Luna. There's also a Lucky Elbrus proc here, which is kind of significant because it lands the attack down, plus the reveals him from stealth. But Peyra gets pushed past Luna, which means that she gets to cleanse off this Death Break. And this also means that because this Acades is actually no Efres, it's all into bulk and speed, because it gets Death Broken by Flan later, so we know that there's no Efres on this thing. It gets to survive the Luna S1, and because Euphine revealed Eligos earlier, Peyra gets to kill him. So in here, he's going to S1 into the Acades, and she gets to live, which means that Flan has to S3 it later. But since Eligos is dead already anyways, this kind of whatever. The problem is that what's supposed to happen is... We're just going to go back to here. Eligos Death Breaks her, and then Luna takes the turn instead of Peyra. Luna S1s, Flan duels, one-shots her, and then Eligos gets to proc his S2. So because of the interactions here, it would have been he's attacked down. So he's attacked down, but still he gets the gab from his S2, and we know that he's not on the highest attack EE. It's going to hit a random unit of these three, with Acades being dead. If it hits Peyra, instant game over, she gets one shot, and it's an instant loss pretty much. But even if it hits one of these two, it's still going to be pretty rough, because that's going to chunk out a large amount of their HP. I don't think it's going to do enough to proc his artifact. His artifact, if he deals more than half of their HP, he's going to CR push everybody. Because of this attack down that popped up here, I don't think it's going to do enough to do 50% of their HP. Without the attack down, it definitely would have, I think. So then you end up in a situation where it's just Peyra, Euphine, plus Arya, but with IHA dead and a massive chunk of HP taken out from either Arya or Euphine. Like I said, if Peyra got hit, the game's over. It's a bit hard to say what would have happened from there because she does give everybody the little dodge chance, so it could have gone either way still, but at least this Idol's Chair pretty much secured him the win. This made it so that there was no way for him to really lose from this spot. Eligos would have still died, because Peyra would have just killed him on this turn, and then Luna also would have probably died, just from Arya S3ing into her. But then you have the ADS plus Flan versus Arya plus Euphine, and then you can see here that Euphine only gets to live with like 30% or a little over 50% of her HP. It could be a very different situation where at the turn after Peyra goes, if Euphine was the one who got hit, he could have opted to just Flan S3 and then ADS duel and then just kill Euphine immediately, because the suitcase plus the Flan S3 would have been able to kill her here probably. And then you end up with Peyra Arya versus ADS Flan. Anyways, I have no idea who would have won. I lean towards Jinte winning if that wasn't Idol's Chair Acades, but the Idol's Chair definitely made it so that whatever was supposed to happen for Jinte had no shot of happening because Peyra got to take her turn here. The second one is from Daystar versus Fivers, their game 1, and here we're going to have to go back a little bit first, because at the very start you can see the artifacts pop up, and we can see Summer Photogenic on Spirit Eye Celine. This is a new artifact, of course, from Summer Hua Young, and not really used that much from what I know. It lets you ignore damage share effects, which is pretty inconsistent value. Also, Windrider is just really good. For most thieves, the snowballing effect and also the stealth ends up being more valuable. Spirit Eye Celine herself gets to use a bunch of artifacts. You can see actually in some of the matches here. Let's see if we can find them. There's one from Cougarbat versus D Xander. I see a Celine here. This match here. If we go back to the start, we can see her artifact. Jesus, how many turns passed? Okay, so I'm just gonna let it go to the start of the match. They played the graphic late. Hostess of the Banquet is a pretty common artifact for her, just because it gives her effect resistance if you're going in up for a Celine, plus it does give her a little bit of a damage boost. And then looking ahead, there is a match between Light and Eleftin, where he has Feed of Criticism on his Celine. This is Tori's artifact, just gives her a big barrier at the start of combat. The barrier lets her use her enhanced S1 without having to S3 first, or have anybody else buff her, and also gives her just a decent bit of protection from anything that's trying to kill her. But then going back to this match, at the very start, we can see the turn orders here. It goes Paulus into Celine, into DJ Bassar, into Witch of the Mirror Tenebria, which is really bad because this Tenebria is going to die. Also, this is a bit awkward. Might just be speed RNG, where the Celine is ahead of the DJ Bassar. If DJ Bassar is ahead of Celine, this is a free win. Since it's not, you do have to play with the risk here, which Daystar goes for the pretty much only option he has here. He can't afford the S3 because DJ Bassar, if he's on Soul Constellation, is going to just cut anyways. So he S1s and tries to strip the barrier off of Celine. This would make it so that Celine can't use her enhanced S1 and probably wouldn't be able to kill Tenebria. But he gets resisted. I don't think this is 15%. This Celine has a ton of effect resistance, and this just means that it's not necessarily a 15%. He probably just didn't have enough effectiveness to strip it. It might not have been like 100% resist, but I don't think it's like 15%. Anyways, Celine gets to go, and here, Crow is supposed to be sharing a lot of the damage, 25%, but because of Summer Photogenic, Celine ignores all the damage here and just straight up one-shots the Tenebria. He gets to unload a second S1 into Tori. Tori, with her damage limit with damage share interacting together, is supposed to make it so that Tori would only take like 37.5% of her HP, I think. But because of the Summer Photogenic, she takes the full 50%. And this leads to, when Arya takes her turn, Arya is just going to straight up one-shot her. So, that is it's a situation where this artifact had really insane value, because without the artifact, he's not one-shotting the Tenebria there with just one S1. He's going to have to double S1 her, which from that point, to be honest, I think he wins anyways. I don't think this artifact necessarily was a win-lose situation for the match, but it was interesting seeing it get used, being such a new artifact that doesn't really see much usage, where he did get good effect out of it because he managed to completely one-shot the Tenebria and then later one-shot the Tori before anybody else got to move after the Paulus turn, pretty much. But that's it for this video. It's just covering some things that I saw during the qualifiers that I thought were pretty cool. Hopefully, when we get to the best of fives for the Lunatic drafts in the World Cup, we see more niche tech, besides just artifacts, maybe some really niche units coming out too.